All right, welcome back, Knights, joining me. If you've never joined me before, this is Thought Factory. So Legion of Knights game, Thought Factory. Basically, what we do here is I watch. I've never seen this episode of Inside Star Citizen. Just came out. Called Tools Time. And basically, we watch it, and I'll pause it, give my opinions on things. Hopefully, it's interesting. And yeah, so let's go ahead and get into it.
Hello. We talk a lot in the ISC about what developers are making for you, the Star Citizen community. But what you may not know is that in any large games development, there's usually a small team dedicated to making things strictly for the developers themselves.
Oh, this is going to
Tools
be
development
like
is at the very heart of what makes game development possible, and why each year is often more productive than the last. When building the never-before-built, it's often impossible to know exactly what you're going to need when you start. But as time goes on, developers begin to discover all the bottlenecks. The processes that, while necessary, can often devastatingly impede their momentum. And perhaps most commonly, processes that work fine for a small game, but don't always scale with a project as massive as Star Citizen. So we thought we'd take this week's show and dedicate it to some of the true heroes gamers never see behind the curtain and enter the world of tools programmers. Up first, let's go to Montreal and meet some of the team there and learn a little about their most recent effort, the Mighty Bridge.
I have a feeling this is going to be
who you ask for.
More boring episode.
The tool team might be the most important team of a production.
In our team, the focus is to develop tools for artists, designers, and technical artists.
The scale in Star Citizen is insane, so we can't ask for artists and designers to make all the game.
And I can't wait till the planets orbit around each other.
Our team is also here for our Montreal office.
The main idea is if there is a need, if there is a problem, or if there's anything that could be made any faster or more simpler for a user, then a tools programmer.
So I can see what this is already going to be about. This is basically about they create the basic tools, obviously, and the developers and artists use those tools to create the game. So basically, if their tools are crap, it takes longer for the developers or artists to create something. If their tools are good and solid, obviously it makes it easier, makes it quicker in development. So you can kind of say that these guys can basically help increase the development of the game, like the length of it, or decrease it.
Can go in and make their life easier.
I am the most important part of the most important team, you know.
Tools time.
As Star Citizen is evolving, we add more and more features over time, so that means that we need...
This guy is so organized. Look at that. He's got some organization going on. Sorry,
to be able to set up and place new type of data, and so you need new tools for that.
We need to automatize a big part of the job to move further and faster.
Obviously, there is a lot to do because the world we try to create is huge. And what we tend to do as technical artists is trying to make the link between the developers and the artists themselves, because the artists are the ones, or the level designers are the ones that tend to.
And he's talking about the scale of the game. When you think about it, you can have an entire game that's based off of one of these planets or one of these moons. They're so massive. Like, you could just create the moon, put a game on it, and have an entire game off of that moon. As of right now, you can't, because you just go to the moon and it's bearing, and there's a couple of places on there. But if you could get down to it, hopefully in the future of Star Citizen, you can do all kinds of missions on one moon or one planet and not even really have to leave it. I'm hoping it gets that in depth, but maybe not.
Use the tools, while the programmers tends to answer their needs.
One recent example of a tool we developed is the Mighty Bridge.
Mighty Bridge is a plugin for the game editor that link the game editor to any other software.
Right now, the main usage is to be able to work in Houdini and have some effects directly in editor.
With the Mighty Bridge, the communication is done in two-way direction. It can send information and ask stuff to Houdini, for example, and Houdini, while doing the computation, is able to say, okay, you want to place a cave here? Give me all the objects in this 50 meters radius so that I can adapt the recipe and then send back the result. And with other technology, you don't have that two-way communication. So it's also help us doing more complex recipe and adapt the content to the game level.
The reason why the Mighty Bridge is important is there's a lot of technical resources and knowledge in all kinds of amazing tools, like, as I mentioned before, Houdini. And by providing a way that artists can interact with the editor from the tools that they know and love and have learned to use over many, many years, they can make more easily the stuff that they want.
That's a lot of pill bottles.
There's no time in between of like thinking about a logistics and everything. It just like does it for you.
We made the Mighty Bridge thinking about the future so that if we want to use other technology, we can plug them into the editor using it. And for example, if we want to use Blender or 3ds Max or Maya or Substance Designer, for example, that we are using, but if we want to plug them into the editor, we could use Mighty Bridge to do that.
Tools programming is core to whoever interacts with anything to make content.
I've been working in the industry for 15 years. I never found a project that has such ambitions. And I feel like this game tends to all...
See, like, look at this. This is, I mean, it's beautiful. It is a huge... imagine an RPG game coming out that's, you know, that has, it's like a role-playing game. In it, you're on an entire planet. I mean, and you could just do... And one of these days that's going to happen. An RPG game's going to come out and you're basically on a planet and you can like roam around it and stuff. And a lot of, you know, Star Citizen isn't the first one to do something like that. You know, you've got the space engineers and you've got No Man's Sky, which No Man's Sky is pretty cool, I'd have to say, because all the planets are procedurally generated. But anyways, enough about that. But, you know, it's an entire planet or an entire moon. I mean, that's just amazing.
Always say there is a goal and we will do whatever it takes to reach that goal.
Mighty Bridge is just one of the ways tools programmers work to improve the workflow of all developers, allowing for an unprecedented two-way communication between independently developed softwares that were never intended to speak to one another, shaving the downtime and removing the need for import and exports all over the place. But that's not where this week's Tools Time story ends, for we're about to go big with a tool that we've been dreaming about internally since 2019. A way to test our game and infrastructure at the scales we need while leaving developers free to continue developing. Let's meet the Cloud Test Launcher.
I'm not really into these
there were
types of
tests
inside
in the
sources.
company where people asked, can we get as many developers to join?
I want to know, like, I want to see more future content, future things they want to add. That's the kind of thing I want out of Inside Star Citizen. To be honest, I'm not real into the whole how's that work? How does the development work? You know, what tools we're using, blah, blah, blah. I'm not into that. Tell me what's coming up in the future, what I can look for, you know, what's the plan, stuff like that. I'm not into this stuff. I think this should be like a more Star Citizen Live episode type of thing. But, you know.
To see if servers work. Well, we can do this way, but we have limited number of developers, even if there is quite large number of them. If you take into consideration how many players there will be in Star Citizen, you will quickly find out that we need to have some way to emulate those users. The idea was created like 4 years ago. The first iteration was that you can go to the developer machines, install the software, and one person could simulate that traffic using those machines. Then came the next iteration of this idea, where we wanted to move that to the actual cloud. Right now, Cloud Test Launcher allows us to create machines on the fly when we need them, launch multiple clients on those machines, and simulate actual traffic. It actually launches a Star Citizen client, connects to the servers, and creates a very realistic testing scenario. Because you can say that there is network traffic, you can say that those players, even if they are emulated, they are actually doing something in Star Citizen, just like a normal connected client would. So this is quite a big deal.
I'm not sure, and tell me in the comments if I'm wrong. From what I'm getting out of this is what he's saying is to test to the servers, test the version of the game that they're working on, whatever. They basically add in faults or bots, pretty much, to kind of test the load and stuff like that. That's what I've got out of this. But to me, that doesn't seem like a real good way to test things because they're bots. They're not going to do the same stuff as, a human would. But maybe this does help them. Maybe it does, but I don't understand why they wouldn't just, have a test server like maybe this is the first iteration, then it goes to the test people. But I think the test clients or test humans that come on here to test would be, I figured they'd get much more information from them than they would this. I don't know. Just to me would seem like kind of a waste, but I don't know. I'm not a developer.
As you know, we are going to introduce server meshing, and to be able to do that, we need to have reliable testing methods. And Cloud Test Launcher is one of those methods. For example, say that a client should go into a ship and fly somewhere, maybe through a jump point, which would involve switching servers and so on. For us, in near future, that will be a very valuable tool to perform testing. Of course, Cloud Test Launcher is not a single-person project. Many people helped in development. I would like to shout out to Martin Senior, which is my team lead, who developed early versions of the Cloud Test Launcher. Also to Jaffa, who helped us in testing phase. Also Ahmed and Scott, who helped us with the network part and cloud part of the development of the Cloud Test Launcher. Without them, this would not be possible.
So what did we learn this week? Well, we learned that Mighty Bridge allows our developers to use the right tool for the job, wherever that tool may come from, and to do so without having to leave the game editor. That Cloud Test Launcher will free up our developers in QA from tedious load balance testing and allow them time to focus on new features and fixes respectively. And that at ISC, we're going to continue exploring every aspect of game development before our time here is done. For Inside Star Citizen, I'm Jared Huckabee. We'll see you all next week.
So to me, that was kind of a boring episode. I didn't really enjoy it that much. Of course, it went over what basically happens behind the scenes, but obviously inside Star Citizen. But anyways, thank you guys for joining me, and hopefully I'll see you guys on the next one. Y'all have a good one.